And the answer is yes. Into the Radius should set the standard for VR because of all the things it does the right way for not even just a game, but a VR game. VR is already kind of a niche because not everyone can afford a $2,000 PC and then a $500 to $2,000 headset on top of that. Plus the controllers, base stations and stuff, it's super expensive, but it is a very fun and new way to be able to game. Into the Radius is where it's at. It has a very satisfying looting mechanic that allows you to pretty much search any drawer or cabinet that you can see in game, as well as just finding things in the environment. Not only being able to find a diverse set of guns, you'll be able to find the attachments that go with guns, including the magazine or red dot sights for like the AK or the M4, the PU scope for the Mosin, and the list goes on and on and on. But you might ask, other VR games already do the looting like Ghost of Tabor and being able to put attachments on guns like Pavlon and Onward and Ghost of Tabor. So what is the big deal about Into the Radius? Into the Radius has an in-game mechanic that allows you to maintain these weapons before, after, or even during every adventure or mission that you go out on, because not being able to maintain it costs you greatly. Fuck. And to me, that pushes the realism and the immersion this game does already so well, which to me is what VR is all about. The design of this game is something to write home about. The unsettling scenery and the unknown of just wandering around the maps as you do these missions, or even just going out to explore to understand what the Radius is. There were many times where I would just sit there and look at the scenery of the area I was in and just admire the environment and just be blown away that this game looks absolutely amazing, even just for being in VR. This is one of the things that I felt like Into the Radius excelled at. Oh, so they've added quite a bit to this area. Like, this wasn't here originally. This is really cool though. Oh yeah, they definitely added to this. This is really, really cool. Being able to show VR developers, whether you're AAA or indie devs, can make any game that they're making look just as amazing as this game. But not just the textures in this game were amazing, it was the sound. The sound design in this game is absolutely amazing. It is very creepy and unsettling to the already weird and unsettling scenery. Oh god, what the fuck was that? Please tell me. Oh fuck. This brings the world of Into the Radius alive as you go from missions to missions, carrying everything that you need to survive and valuables that you've gotten from these enemies and missions to sell at a high price and turn in to get even more money, makes it even more terrifying of what is around every corner. Even the enemies in this game taunt you and have very unsettling voice lines from their past as they hunt you down.
Is Max coming out to play?
No, he's not. Oh, what the fuck are you? Oh my god! Where's the fuck is my goddamn pistol? Oh my god, you were creepier than fuck. You're worse than those fucking spiders. Oh my fucking god. Oh, I'm shaking. Holy shit. Even though there are different types of enemies in this game, they all have a common goal, is to push you out of cover and hunt you down. And it can get very overwhelming very quickly when you have multiple enemies to deal with and different kinds, and they're all rushing you and you're trying to change mags or switch to your pistol if you have to. It is very, very overwhelming and it takes a lot of getting used to, but that is really only the beginning. Once you get about halfway through the game, where you start unlocking better weapons and finding better gear, is when you start to feel like a complete badass after getting these better weapons.
But I'm ready. Let's get this shit going. You fucks want a piece of me?
Another thing this game does great is the accessibility in this game. There's quite a few people that get motion sick when trying to do VR and play it, and they can't deal with like normal locomotion controls, which is like using the joystick or the touchpad to be able to move your character. So they have a teleport feature that you can use, or even if you have disabilities or something, you can have a seated experience instead of standing all the time, which I mean comes in handy. And not only being able to accommodate for those people that have motion controls or disabilities that want to play this game, if you're a scaredy cat like me, or you want a realistic survival experience, there's a way to get that fix. You can change everything from how tough the enemies are to where your items can buy or sell less, or cheap or super expensive, which can change the experience greatly because it pushes you to live off the land if you are wanting everything to be super expensive, and it gives a very different play style and a way of playing Into the Radius. So not only you have these amazing features to help people in the game, you also have them outside the game. Not everybody, like I mentioned before, can buy a really nice PC and buy a really nice headset to be able to experience this game. So Into the Radius is also available on Quest 2 and Pico VR, and they haven't announced any other standalone wireless headsets, but who knows, they can make the exception, but this is not for sure set in stone. You also need to keep in mind, if you're going to buy this on the Quest 2 or the Pico VR, that the graphics aren't the same as playing it on Steam or on PC VR, because it doesn't have that big of enough power and graphic fidelity for those headsets. If not, they would cost tons of more money. So this is just being able to access it to more people. Story-wise, this game is very different because it depends on how you understand the game. You can miss a lot of things by not getting some of the notes and recordings from the tapes that you find in the game, but the story starts out like this. You are the 61st explorer to go to the Radius that was hired by a special team from the UN called the UNPSC. You will go out and explore the Pechorsk anomaly zone and discover the mysteries of the Radius. You start the tutorial in the outskirts of the Radius zone and meet a presence of a woman named Katya. She says you are the only one to hear her from the other explorers and people who have come into the zone. She asks you to save her from the Radius, which also goes hand in hand with the missions that you get from the UNPSC.
Oh, you can hear me. I kept trying to speak to others, but they couldn't, and help me, please.
Most of these missions have you collecting artifacts or understanding anomalies around the zone and reporting your findings to them. You discover some of the dark truths of Into the Radius, which changes the whole perception of the game. Things get darker and unsettling the farther you get into the story, and in some of the notes that you get after completing these missions, but I'm not going to spoil anything. If you want more lore, go check out No Tablespoon for a quick rundown of the lore. There is also a patch coming to the game in the coming months that the devs have announced that will help put together the story a little bit better, because the devs understand that the game can be very hard to understand to newcomers. To me, what sells on the story is being able to find more of the lore in the notes and tape recordings that you get from going out and interacting with the world, as well as finding out more from Katya, from her memories and everything. It's almost being like a detective in like the really old crime shows, trying to solve everything together, putting the puzzle pieces together and understanding the big picture of what happened. I think anyone that wants to make a VR game should pay attention to what this game did right, because it did a lot of things right. And yes, you know, sometimes the physics can kind of go weird, and sometimes you lose your guns, and sometimes the game just glitches out because it's just a game, or performance issues. But Into the Radius is one of the better games that have come out for VR in recent years, and I believe it should set the standard for every VR game, regardless if it's coming from a AAA studios or an indie dev. Thanks for watching.